All right, so I'm gonna give us a quick once over on how to set up once we get the Ralphie hardware. So the goal of this video is just gonna be to explain how to download all the peripheral software that we need in order to run the autonomous missions with the Ralphie SEM solution, and provide some background that needed on how to kick off an initial mission. So the first step, whenever we're gonna be using Ralphie, is we need to have the ground control software on our laptop. This is essentially some software that allows for us to communicate with the software that's running on board the robot to allow for us to configure settings, plan missions, and ultimately see what's going on in real time and collect data. So the first step in this is we need to go to the website that has the software we need. So we're going to go to rover. rover is the open source software that's on board Ralphie that runs all of our electronics and does all the path planning we need to do. So once we go to ArduPilot, you might find yourself at the home page. This is not the right link. ArduPilot. So we go to ArduPilot. We'll open ArduPilot. We'll then go to documentation. We are using a rover solution, so we want to go to the rover documentation, rover. Then we'll go to first time setup and install ground station software. As you can see here, there's a couple different types of software that are available to be used with Ralphie. For our particular implementation, we chose to move forward with Mission Planner. So once you open up Mission Planner, you're going to go to this Install Mission Planner button, and then you'll download the latest Mission Planner installer from the website. Once you get that, this little thing's in my way, you can click on that button, and you can see the Mission Planner setup just runs. You'll just follow through these prompts like you're downloading any sort of software on your laptop, and then Mission Planner will be set up. I'm gonna let you guys do that since I already have it downloaded on my computer. Once we have that, we can search Mission Planner in our search bar. You're gonna see that something like the PowerShell on the Windows is gonna turn on. That's okay, that's totally normal to have running in the background. Then Mission Planner will open up. You'll see that we can get a picture of a little Google Maps of anywhere on the planet. And you'll be ready for the next step, which is going to be to plan an autonomous mission and to hook up to a robot. Awesome. Thank you. All right, so now that we've downloaded Mission Planner on our computer, we actually need to talk about how we make our computer, where we're going to be able to set out our missions and program rover, communicate with our hardware or the Ralphie solution. So the first step in this is going to be to turn on the mechanical on and off switch on Ralphie. And the second step is going to be to use the remote switch to turn it on. Now when I turn this on, I'm going to be quiet for a moment because Ralphie's going to let us know when it's ready and it's fully activated. So I'm just going to press the on button here. And as you can hear there's a little chime that came from the Pixhawk and the GPS module just to let us know that the robot had turned on successfully and that all the systems on board are working. So if you look at the back of Ralphie, there's going to be attached a little antenna on the back. This is a telemetry radio antenna, and it allows for us to send information between a computer and the rover while we're in the field. Now, once the robot is on, we need to plug in the ground control antenna to your laptop. You can just go into one of your standard USB ports, and then we need to make sure that in Mission Planner, in the upper right-hand corner, we've selected the correct COM port, communication port, for our antenna. So for me, that's COM9. And we want to make sure that the baud rate of that communication is set to 57,600. If we don't set it at this rate, the two antennas aren't going to be able to communicate with each other, and we're going to end up losing information. Once everything has been set up, don't click off of Mission Planner. We're just going to click the connect button. You'll see a little notification will come up on the side. We might see that there's a brief delay in connecting or something else going on. We'll just let these little windows get through all their steps. And now we're connected between Ralphie and our computer. So that's how we connect to Ralphie autonomously. we'll come back with the next step to explain how we can actually set up missions and waypointing in Ardu Rover. All right, so now let me show you how to download Mission Planner and how to connect via telemetry to Ralphie. We need to learn how to actually set up and plan an autonomous path for, the actual use of the robot. So to do that, the first step, once we're on our home screen of Mission Planner, is going to be to navigate over to this plan menu of the flight planner. Once you're over here, you're just going to pick a place where you want to be doing your tests. So for me, I'm going to show you how to set up a path that travels along these lines of scrimmage on this soccer field. You're going to notice at the start of this, I grabbed this little H dot and brought it over here. This is the launch position of the robot, and it'll be defined at whatever point you turn Ralphie on at. So I turned Ralphie on in the Idea Forge, but I want to show you guys this test over here. So I just clicked and dragged that green dot over here for the sake of demonstration. So to set waypoints, there's two ways we can go about it. The first is going to be to click on the map the places you want the robot to go. Now, this is a bit less accurate of a method, but it's good for giving you an initial approximation of where everything is. And you can see with the 6th point, I kind of missed and didn't get exactly on the corner of that line of scrimmage. So I can come over, I can just drag that green dot over. Same thing here with position 3. I'd like the robot to go all the way to the end of this line and just click and drag it. So that's one way of setting up an autonomous path. You can see it's pretty easy, right? But maybe for the sake of, whatever you're doing, you want to be a bit more precise. You want to give exact coordinates that the robot's going to visit. So to do that, we just go down to this latitude and longitude. And we can just type in directly what we want. So maybe I want the robot to go to 40.002. And then we can see I moved waypoint 5 from where it was down here, directly down along that line of that latitudinal line to this new position. So that's how you define waypoints. Maybe you accidentally add an extra waypoint that you want to get rid of. Aside from using Control Z, we can also scroll down on our list of waypoints. And you're going to see there's this delete column. We just need to click X to remove it. So that's how we set up missions. You can also enable certain waypoints to do certain tasks that are different from what we were initially set. So maybe right now I have waypoint 8 as setting the robot going from point 7 to this point 8. I can instead set it as return to launch. And what that'll do is my robot will now, when it goes to point 7, attempt to return to the home, which for some reason updated to be back over there. And as its final command. So that's how the navigational controller works. Once we've built a path, this is really simple to send it over to Ralphie. We just need to hit the right button, which point each of those waypoints will get uploaded onto the robot, and it will use them for future missions. If you want to save a mission, you can just click Save File, and it'll let you download it. Likewise, if you've saved a mission and you just want to use it again, you can just load it right up right there and write it over to Ralphie. So that's it. Thank you. Now that we've programmed Ralphie with a path, we need to actually learn how to drive Ralphie around. So to do that, we're going to use the FlySky i6 right here, which is the RC controller that was chosen for Ralphie. Just gonna fix some bugs over here real quick. Beautiful. So the first step when we want to do that is we need to turn on our controller. What will sometimes happen is we're going to be told by the controller that currently some switch has been left in a weird position. And so things that can cause this is our throttle can be left up and not all the way down. So one way we can fix it is we can bring the throttle all the way down like this. If the robot continues to still have these issues, that means that it's not currently set in a mode that's safe for it to turn on in. And we need to turn all these switches to be in their upward facing position. So just push them all the way up. to set Ralphie ready to go. Okay, so now we have Ralphie in these modes. Let's look closely at the control modes that Ralphie can hold. So the first is called the hold mode. In hold, we have both switch C and switch D in their high modes. So you can see switch C has 1, 2, 3 modes I can put it in. And switch D has a high and a low mode. So the way that we've designed this is switch D swaps between being in a manual human-driven mode and in a computer autonomous mode when it's down. Likewise over here, we have switch C, which in its first position will always place the robot into a hold freeze position. In its second mode is going to put it into the user set drive mode, and the third is in a backup functionality position. So to go through these positions and what they do, when we have both flipped up, we're in hold, which just tells Ralphie to sit still. Ralphie's not going to move, his motors will not turn. When we take switch C and put it in the position of 2, we can see that flight mode 4 turns green, which means that Ralphie's in manual. When Ralphie's in manual, it drives just like a normal RC car. You may have seen this at our expo. And increasing this will increase throttle. You'll cause Ralphie to turn by using either of these. Yeah. Then this third mode down here is acro. Acro is used in the tuning of the robot. It's not super important to explain outside of that. Then we can put the second switch down. So now we're going to be in autonomous functionality. And again, you can see we stay in flight mode 1 while we're in position 1 on our C switch, which means that Ralphie's going to continue to hold and not move. Going down 1 switch and putting C in position 2, we can see that Ralphie goes into auto mode. While in auto, Ralphie will actually attempt to follow our autonomous paths after we tell it to begin. I'll get more on that here in a moment. And the third mode is called Smart RTL. What Smart RTL will do is, while Ralphie's on an autonomous mission, maybe we don't know where he's gone and we need to figure out where we need to get the robot to come back to us. Smart RTL will have Ralphie follow the path backwards that we've planned for it from its current position to return back to its launch point. So that's how the RC controller works. And next, we'll explain to you how we can use this controller to actually get Ralphie to go on autonomous missions. All right, so now that we've shown you how to set different control modes in Ralphie, we're going to show you how to actually start an autonomous mission once you've written a path to the robot. So over here in Mission Planner, I've taken the liberty of programming a short path which will have Ralphie just drive straight forward in the Idea Forge. We highly do not recommend using Ralphie for indoor missions, since the primary mode of navigation that the robot uses is going to be in terms of that GPS sensor on board, and GPSs don't work very well indoors, which means that the robot's going to lose a lot of the information it needs in order to travel from one point to the next. Okay, so the first step we're going to do is we're going to turn on Ralphie. Once Ralphie's turned on, we're going to turn on our controller. And what we're going to see if we come over to Mission Planner is our robot is currently disarmed. This is a safety feature in ArduPilot to make sure that a robot doesn't get turned on and immediately start driving. This is a bigger issue with drones where, you could get a propeller spinning and you could cut someone's finger off. Here, it's still present just because we don't want to have a robot start driving and drive over someone's foot, drive over someone's hand and get them hurt. So, how do we deal with this disarmed feature of the robot? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to come over to our controller and we're going to hold right for a little while. You might hear this low beeping noise coming out of the robot. That's to signify that now the robot is ready to go. You can also see that the light on board has turned a solid green and is no longer blinking. On our screen, we no longer say disarmed. Sometimes we'll say armed for a moment to signify the robot's ready. All right, now that Ralphie's prepared, I'm just going to take switch D, put it low to put us into the autonomous functions of the robot. And we're going to take switch C and put it in mode 2. This has now set Ralphie into an autonomous mode, and it just needs to be started on its mission in order to start going. And the way that we have that happen right now is you simply need to come up to the robot and give it a light kick with your foot, and then it'll start driving. Now I'm going to stop Ralphie here because, as I said, we are inside, so the sensors on board aren't entirely functional, but that's how you give it a path. Thank you. All right, so in some cases, it might be difficult to do some tests with Ralphie, maybe during development, where the robot is performing in autonomous mode, and you would rather be able to have direct control over whether or not Ralphie's driving forward, if it's turning, and things like that. In those situations, it's often easier to drive Ralphie inside what's called a manual mode. So to put Ralphie in manual, I've already pressed the manual on switch on board. We'll turn Ralphie on. We'll then turn on the RC controller. Once the controller is on, we need to hold the right joystick to the right for just a moment, and that will arm Ralphie. Once Ralphie's been armed, we're going to put switch D in position 1 and switch C in position 2. This will put Ralphie into what's called manual mode. While in manual mode, Ralphie can be driven forward by moving the left stick forward. Ralphie does not have a reverse setting, so this is a fully between 0% speed and 100% speed. When the control is pressed all the way forward, Ralphie's going to drive forward really quickly. When we put it all the way down, Ralphie's going to quickly slow down. If you want to turn Ralphie, again, just like an RC plane, you would just hold to the right, and Ralphie turns right. Zoom out a bit. If you hold to the left, Ralphie will turn left. So with that, let's say control Ralphie in manual mode, and thank you.